Kano state government has warned that the demoted Emir of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, should be evacuated from the Nasarawa palace that he currently occupies because it constitutes a security risk for the state. The deputy governor of the state, Comrade Aminu Gwazo, stated this yesterday during a press conference at Government House, Kano. Gwazo also apologized to the National Security Advisor, NSA, Nuhu Ribadu, over allegations that he was involved in the ongoing emirship tussle in the state. Relatedly, Justice Amina Aliyu of the Kano State High Court yesterday issued an interim injunction restraining Bayero and 4 other dethroned emirs from parading themselves as occupants of their erstwhile stools, pending the hearing and determination of the motion on notice. Aliyu also ordered the police to evict the deposed emirs from their palaces. Speaking on behalf of Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf, Gwazo said the governor, in his quote, appealed to Mr. President and NSA office to investigate the happenings in Kano and evacuate him, that Aminu Bayero, from his current residence, as he is constituting security threat in the state.
And still, I feel to Mr. President and the Office of the National Security Advisor and all agencies concerned to investigate the happenings in Kano as it relates to the default area of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, and to take immediate steps to evacuate him from his current residence and remove him from the state. As it is now, he is constituting a security threat in the state. The Nasarawa Palace, where the default area is currently residing, is a place where politicians, even as we are talking now, APC stalwarts are tripping in and out, planning and conspiring to cause havoc, mayhem, and disharmony in the state. There have been talks about restraint or expertise order given by that court. Whatever the circumstances of the order, we as the government have never seen from anybody whatsoever any communication to that direction. We have never been served.
Well, the deputy governor of Kano State there, Rufai, obviously, I'm sure that you know that this week, this story will possibly dominate until there's some form of calm in Kano State. But your take on this story, we have another ruling, this time by the Kano State High Court. Your take on this story?
So this morning, I'd like to pay special tribute to Onikekwa Braithwaite for her very exciting elucidations in the day-to-day newspaper this morning. You can read for further reference. So a couple of things. It's not today we've constantly had upbursts where people have back and forth. I mean, Dr. Bati, you were right yesterday when you were talking about a same scenario that happened in the mid-1800s in Lagos between Kosoko and Akitoye. They were both relatives and they were fighting for the Lagos stool. But the difference is, after one called the British to help him fight out the other, and they sent the other out, the British now took that stool from him. And that has always been instructive, and that was how the British came in, really. Because they called in external parties called the British to a tussle between the two people for the Lagos stool. What has happened here is this political laced injustice going on, and people are fighting back. The current government is fighting back against another political adversary, which was the Ganduje government. It was explicitly clear that a lot of violation of his rights were done when Sanusi was ousted, because he wasn't even given the right of fair hearing, which he has gone to court, and courts, they have copious judgment ruling in favor of Sanusi as regards that. In fact, even awarding him damages, which I'm sure the Kano state, maybe under Kano will never pay or something, because we live in a country where we don't respect court orders. Part of the reason why I talked about Onikekwa Braithwaite is she made a very, very wonderful, I must say, article today that answered a lot of concerns. And she said, and I quote, "The Federal High Court does not have jurisdiction in chieftaincy matters." There's a case law to that. Bagana Engineering Corporation versus Rivers State Government. That's the case law. A court cannot just mistakenly, knowingly or unknowingly assume jurisdiction. So the game that is being played here, where they're trying to couch jurisdiction under the terms of the fact that, oh, it was a violation of human rights case they're filing, that matter is a substantive chieftaincy matter, which is a state matter. It is Sanusi that filed violation of human rights, and he had the right to, because his human rights was violated. He was banished. Let's never forget that. He was taken to a very remote area. So, and also she asked some salient question in her article today. You guys, please go read back of this morning, the New Braithwaite. She said, even if they say, oh, the laws have been changed, people can make rulings via Zoom and things like that and all of that. What about the procedures he's supposed to take? Did the judge even took his robe while he traveled with him? What about the filing process? What about the advertisement on the website? What about many other things they're supposed to go through? These questions are yet unanswered. Secondly, and furthermore, how come we have so much skirmish in town until date because somebody got a court order, which there's been disputation now as it's been circulated online as regards even signature, where people are bringing hitherto signed documents out. Anyway, that can be proved only by a forensics expert, I must add. So how come that the police is so quick now to enforce this court order? And those are the questions we are not answering. But now that the Kano State government has gotten this, another court order, because it's not a case of court order, jam court order, why are we not quick to enforce this? You know why I'm also saying all of this? And please, cool heads must prevail, because I hear Premium Times were reporting this morning that gunshots rang out yesterday in one of the palaces. I don't know which one now. We cannot allow Kano to be overtaken by anarchy. And that's why we must have a complete resolution to this matter once and for all. So we've got 2 court orders. Some will claim, oh, coordinate jurisdiction and all of that. One is saying 3rd of June, another one is saying 11th. We can't allow our country to be run with this level of madness because politicians are playing the game of Omodime Taishiri. We can't allow this happen. I call for cool heads to prevail, and proper jurisdictions must be respected. I rest my case.
Okay, can I look at the basic issues involved in this matter dispassionately and intellectually? Number one, the deputy governor of Kano State has been quoted as saying that the 14th emir, the 15th emir, Ado Bayero, must evacuate himself from Kano because he's constituting a threat to public peace in the state. Now, I think these people who are made deputy governors, I don't know their level of education, but they need to acquire a certain level of education and also be properly advised before they just speak into microphone. Part of the problem we have in this country is that a lot of people get access to the microphone and they just talk. Number one, Ado Bayero may have been deposed under the law, sections 4, 5, and of the Constitution, but he also has fundamental human rights. It does not mean that he has stopped being a citizen. For Comrade Guazo, who is the deputy governor in Kano, to say, oh, he's constituting a threat to public peace, he has to prove it. How in any material particular, as Aminu Ado Bayero constituted himself into a threat to public peace. Number two, he says that the presidency of Nigeria should get involved and help to evacuate Emir Aminu Ado Bayero. This is the point we make all the time about how political figures try to take politics into almost everything. In Kano, both Gwazo, the deputy governor, and his principal, Abba Yusuf, must restrain themselves from playing unnecessary politics. I'm not impressed by the statements made by Comrade Gwazo, the deputy governor of Kano State. He should be told that when Sanusi was removed as the 14th emir in 2020, he went to court to enforce his fundamental human rights. And what the court ruled at the time is that Emir Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi, irrespective of whatever had been done by with the Emirate Council law, which was used to create 4 other emirates, has the right under the Constitution of Nigeria to stay wherever he likes. So Comrade Gwazo has to prove to us that Emir Ado Bayero, the 15th emir, had made efforts to disrupt the peace. That will be the issue. In his press statement, he didn't prove that. And so that is intervention falls short in that regard. Whether he has been deposed and there are contentions over the law or not, Emir Ado Bayero, the 15th emir of Kano, has every right to be in Kano. And significantly, Ado Bayero himself had said that, look, he wants to respect the rule of law. He believes in the rule of law. He wants the matter to be settled that is before the court. And that is where we are in that matter. And that is why I keep saying that in this matter in Kano, everybody should behave as if they have common sense. Nobody should be unnecessarily partisan and get ahead of themselves. I've made the point. Comrade Gwazo doesn't know what he's talking about. If he's calling on the federal government, let me address that. Now, the federal government of Nigeria cannot act as if it is unconcerned about what is happening in Kano State. President Tinubu is the chief security officer of this entire territory known as Nigeria. Under Section 214 of the Constitution, under Section 217 of the 1999 Constitution also, he has authority over the police, the military. It is his responsibility to ensure that there is peace. He cannot act as if he is unconcerned. So if he's being called upon to intervene, he has an obligation to intervene. That's the second point. The third point has to do with the role of politics in traditional affairs. Now, once you politicize the traditional institution, it is also a statement about how these traditional institutions will seem to have on their own also collapsed. Once upon a time in this country, in this environment, traditional rulers were the overlords. They were even called second to the divine. You know, Alashe Ikeji Orisha. Yorubas, call them. In other words, after God, it was these same traditional rulers. But the transition, over time, historical transition displaced them. But these same traditional rulers too have also helped to denigrate the institution. We are now in the age of Obas, traditional rulers, going for discos, disco parties. We are also in the age of traditional rulers, always going to these political leaders to ask for tickets for their children and wives to travel abroad. We are at a time when traditional rulers are no better than roadside contractors. And so you give powers to these politicians who have no regard for tradition and culture. And yet tradition and culture define us as a people. Because beyond all the politics, beyond all the modernism, we are a people with roots, with primordial connections. So that's part of it. But what you see in Kano, I think that at the end of the day, the people have been calling for justice. They are saying, oh, there is an interim injunction. Even that interim injunction now is a problem. There's a counter injunction from the State High Court of Justice Aliyu. Okay, what you see here is forum shopping. The judiciary, under Section 6 of the 1999 Constitution, again being dragged into the mud, again being dragged into the arena. The issues we will now be talking about will be about the legal privileges and disciplinary committee and the National Judicial Committee looking into matters. Because people are already forum shopping, and there are even arguments again about the earlier ruling on the Emirates Council Law of 2019 as amended by the House of Assembly, as assented to by Governor Abba Yusuf, by the ruling by Justice Liman. Some people are saying, in fact, there are issues about the signature of Justice Liman. If Justice Liman is alive, I think this is the time when he must come forward and speak. This issue in Kano now is not a question of the Judex must not come forward, the Judex must stay in the background. No, in this matter, Justice Liman must come forward now and speak. Is it his signature? Did he sign? Did he give the order? These are some of the basic facts in terms of, if we weigh on the side of the presumption of regularity, to say that, even the Judas now must come out and speak so that we can have peace in Kano. As for Justice Aliyu, the issue saying chieftaincy matters, issues of jurisdiction and all that. On jurisdiction, it is a major subject for students of law. Jurisdiction is the main issue, is one issue that can be determined at any point in any proceeding, either at the beginning or in the middle or at the end of it. But it is only the court that can pronounce on jurisdiction. Because the jurisdiction is a fons et ergo of the judicial process. Where jurisdiction fails, the judicial process collapses. So all of these issues is not something we can debate on a media table, on television. These are technical issues that will require deeper knowledge and deeper procedure, in terms of application. So these are some of the issues that I see in this regard. But to say that Bayero has constituted him to a nuisance, no, Comrade Guazo is not in a position to say that, whether he's deputy governor or not. These people should at least seek some advice.
All right, just very quickly, since the legal aspect of the matter on ground has been clearly dealt with, but one of the things I should say is this, and that is the fact that in this case, number one, of course, what has been talked about is the politicization of the matter. And when you look at the situation in Kano, it is a reflection, unfortunately, of what has played out, even during election time, where a number of things that ought to be sacred has just been denigrated to a point of a party versus a power, and then a party versus another party or powers in place. Because one of the things that's been accused is, according to Senator Salihu Lukman, who had mentioned that the position of the center in terms of the ruling party, which he belongs to, is quite disgraceful in terms of the fact that they are meddling with the affairs of a state that is no longer under their control. And perhaps that was the reason why they lost the confidence of the people in the first place in Kano State. I'm talking about APC in this regard, and that the president must step into, especially with his own party members, to bring some calm and to bring some sanity to the situation so that it doesn't then become an APC versus NNPP situation in Kano State. Beyond that is also this talk about calm and the threat of perhaps an agitation or tension in the air in Kano. If you speak to a number of residents, you would see that there's a calm that is suspect, because whilst we have the army or the people who are supporting Emir Sanusi, we also have the camp of the 15th Emir, Ado Bayero, who are there waiting, and anything, just like a charged atmosphere, any strike of the match in terms of any kind of agitation or any kind of temptation would just cause the place to flare up. And perhaps this is where the Deputy Governor is coming from in terms of the fact that by you remaining here, despite the fact that there's a State House of Assembly amendment to the law, to the chieftaincy law in Kano State, you remaining here can be a source of aggravation for the people here. And in the interim, before we get a definite court judgment, it might be in the interest of the people and in the interest of peace for you to move away. That's perhaps the message here, because he also used the opportunity, now the Deputy Governor of Kano State, Comrade Aminu Gwazo, who said that despite or contrary to the reports about, there being some form of violence here and there are just pockets of violence by actors who are being paid by different parties to try and disrupt or to cause some kind of chaos in Kano State. And so we shouldn't really aggravate or make it seem like the place is under fire. But in saying this, we know that it is a volatile situation and it can change at any minute. And what we're looking forward to is not to see, an uprising, protests, or even violence and killings in Kano State as a result of this. We want to avoid that. Away from that, then we look at the role of security agencies. Now, according to the security agencies who had protected the 15th Emir of Kano, Ado Bayero, they said that in the interest of defending, or interest of carrying out the rulings of the courts, they were standing to enforce the fact that things should remain as status quo. However, following this ruling by the State House, the Kano State State House, the courts, we would then wonder how the security agencies will conduct themselves in enforcing this ruling as well. Would there be a clash of standpoints for the security agencies? Who are they going to stand by, the Federal High Court or the State High Court? Whose enforcement are they going to obey in terms of enforcing law and order in Kano State? Because this was the original idea or the original reason given for the protection and the deployment of security agencies at federal level to Kano State to protect, to protect the 15th Emir of Kano. So a number of things happening here. But at the end of the day, this morning, for me, is the people, and to ensure that we do not upset the calm that Kano has experienced in the last few months through the interests of persons and in some cases even parties, political alignment. It is very important because this goes beyond just a deposition, a reinstatement. It is about interests of people and how it affects the people of Kano State in particular. The State High Court has ruled. Let's see how this will play out. We've already established the fact that the Federal High Court has no jurisdiction. This can be established or determined. But at the end of the day, what we're looking forward to is seeing how this can be resolved. It's very important to note that the silence, as it were, of the center, especially with regards to the involvement of the APC as a result of the previous administration, is quite loud. A lot hasn't been said. One might say that it's as a result of the focus on the one-year anniversary, a number of activities happening, and so no time for that. But in order to ensure that there's even a smooth and seamless one-year anniversary celebration for this administration, it is important not to ignore the Kano situation. We do not want chaos, anarchy, crisis on our hands at this point. This has to be handled properly. Move on to our next story this morning. Shareholders of Nigerian aviation handling company NACO Aviance have approved the company's proposed gross dividend of 2 naira 54 kobo per ordinary share, amounting to 4.95 billion naira. The shareholders gave the approval at the 43rd Annual General Meeting of NACO Aviance, which held in Lagos on Friday. Arise News correspondent Omobolanle Adesuyi has details.
The 43rd Annual General Meeting, which was held virtually, was aimed at laying the audited financial statement for the year ended December 31, 2023, declare a dividend recommended by the Board of Directors of the company, elect members of the board, and authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the external auditors for the 2024 financial year, amongst other matters. Speaking on the factors responsible for the high figures the company recorded in the financial year ended December 31, 2023, Group Chairman NACO Avians, Dr. Shende Oladapo Fademi, emphasized the team's resilience and dedication, which enabled them to capitalize on opportunities and mitigate risks effectively.
We are strategically putting ourselves in terms of increasing profitability, making sure that the business is sustainable. And one of the other major things we are trying to do is to build a 5-year program for the company. That we are engaging in KPMG. We've done that before, but because of so many issues that have happened in the country, we're trying to re-energize it and bring in new strategies.
Only way to grow for us, we are the largest ground handling company in the country. For us, now the growth will come from further expansion of our horizons, be it within the country and be it abroad. So that's where we're looking at how to sustain the growth. So expanding our horizons is the answer to that.
With the operationalization of new subsidiaries, NACO Avians is looking to reinvest in its facilities to enable it to retain its leadership position in the ground handling and warehousing business. Omobolanle Adeshui, Arise News.
Also, the Commonwealth refers to 56 countries, many of which are former territories of the British Empire. Earlier this month, education ministers gathered in London for the 22nd Conference of Commonwealth's Education Ministers. The two-day event sought to discuss ways to empower the 2.6 billion Commonwealth citizens with equitable learning opportunities. Arise international correspondent Adefemi Akinsoya reports.
Sat side by side is the Secretary-General of the Commonwealth, Patricia Scotland, and Kenya's Cabinet Secretary for Education. Together, they discussed their plans for the 22nd instalment of the Conference of Education Ministers in London. Scotland says collaboration with Nigeria and among member states will ensure targets are met.
The Cabinet Secretary responsible for the whole of delivery of governance in Nigeria was at the same table as the counterpart in India and everyone else. And it was dynamic. I have to say, a huge thank you to your secretary from India who came and shared everything with the counterparts around the table. But what happened is the counterparts shared everything with India and Nigeria too. So we had Kenya, we had Rwanda, we had all of the small states who, although they are small, they have had to be ingenious in order to overcome the same problems.
UNESCO 2024 data shows 763 million people cannot read or write, while 250 million children are out of school, and that's 6 million more since 2021. Kenya's education representative says prioritizing technology has been of great benefit.
We have to integrate technology to all our running systems at each and every level in order for us to be able to realize the kind of outcome that we have set as a country. We have therefore worked on the necessary required infrastructure, like connectivity, internet, taking it to almost each and every school. There is connectivity of power, so it becomes easier also to connect with the internet.
More than 60% of the 2.6 billion people in the Commonwealth are under the age of 30. Nigeria too boasts a young population. a prospect which re-echoes the Commonwealth's excitement for Nigeria.
I'm continuing to say a big thank you to Nigeria. Watch what Nigeria is going to do now.
Preparing the youth for the future by bringing the world a step closer to quality education for all. Adifemi Akinsoya, Arise News, London.
So there's a recognition that governments...
All right, well, great to see the Baroness point out or single out Nigeria and say, watch what Nigeria would say or what Nigeria would do in the future. Still a standard, and looking at how we can improve the education sector, not just in the Commonwealth countries, but also particularly in Nigeria.